fight this. Don't you want me?
No, bitch, I don't want you.
Gina! That's right, Gina. And how did you know my name was Gina? Last night you called me by my name before Martin even mentioned it. I never realized it till I got home. So that makes you a liar. And if there is one thing that I hate more than a liar, is a liar who's trying to steal my man. So you go near Martin again, I'm gonna hurt you. You got that, girlfriend?
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to the Fifth Flow Review, where we go and actually take a retrospective look at that 90s iconic show, Martin. Today, I'm going to go and actually review Blackboard Jungle Fever, Season 1, Episode number 17. And I got some questions to ask for you. Do you know who was playing Miss Trinidad? I'm going to let you know. 2. Did something happen to Cole back when he was a little boy that might explain some of his awkwardness? Possibly. And does this episode tell us what Tommy did as a job in Martin? I got some answers for you if you want to stick around, because I'm going to talk all about this bad boy. I'm going to answer those questions. I'm going to tell you about who was in this, what it was all about, all the different themes, 90s stuff, all that kind of good stuff on there. So if you like any of that, do me a favor, click like, share, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. And you'll notice I'm going ahead and actually wearing a little bit of paraphernalia here. Now, I say this far into the video because if you want to know where I got this from, it's not like a secret or anything like that, but I just kind of want to see who's actually gotten this far in video. So if you like this and you want to see, because I'm going to be watching and I'm probably going to have some more of this merchandise, I'll kind of let you know where I got this from. They're not sponsoring me, definitely not. They don't know who me or anything like that. But I found this site really awesome. Get a lot of Martin merchandise, whatever. So if you want any information, let me know, and then come back to the video later on, and I'll actually have it listed down below. So I'll have to keep that in the back pocket. But anyways, let's break it down here, right? Let's get an introduction to this particular episode. Blackboard Jungle Fever premiered on January 21st, 1993. Had a ratings of 18.1 million viewers, directed by Garen Keith and written by Jane Milmore and Billy Van Zant. And the synopsis goes like this. Martin hosts career day at his old elementary school and is hit on by his former third grade teacher. When Gina walks in, she misunderstands the scene and dumps him. So here we've got it going on. We know what the synopsis is. We kind of hit former third grade teacher. What could that be? Got an answer for you. But before I go ahead and actually start talking about the cast and give you that setup on there, I want you to go and actually know that the title here, Blackboard Jungle Fever, obviously is an homage to Blackboard being in the classroom. But Jungle Fever, oddly enough, is actually talking about walks of life on there that probably shouldn't be mating up. You get different stuff. Now, colloquially in the 90s, that actually referred to interracial relationships, usually a black person intermingling with another race or what have you. Obviously goes back to the main movie that showed that was Spike Lee's Jungle Fever with Wesley Snipes, and that movie was iconic at the time. But Jungle Fever could also go and actually be talking about might have a cougar in the midst of actually coming from somebody, right? So we have a relationship that's probably forbidden, probably shouldn't be happening or whatever, and that's kind of where we come out for the title card for this. Now, who do we have in this particular episode? From our regular cast, we go ahead and actually have Martin, Gina, Tommy, and Cole. Not shown in this episode, Pam, Sean, or Stan. None of them in this episode. It's a really tight cast of our usual regulars that come out in this particular one. We do have some actors that have appeared in other Martin episodes before. We actually have one kid in there, Arthur Reggie III as Arthur. And he was actually in the Christmas show, episode 15. I saw Gina kissing Santa Claus. So he was the one called Waterhead. And he was up there giving Martin all the business and whatnot and stuff like that. So he's actually here, and he actually plays in the very first scene that you go and actually see everything going down on. So got a couple of speaking parts in Martin. Also, we have some reoccurring characters in there, but these are people that you go and actually hear as voiceover stuff. So Kyle Bentley Evans as a voiceover and I'll just tell you because we probably won't mention anything like that, but if you listen to the when Cole hooks up the cable box in the second scene in the episode, what have you, that's where you go and actually hear him. Jane Milmore as another voiceover. She's obviously been in plenty of different things on there, and as well, she's a writer in this particular episode. And then Benny R. Richburg as another voiceover. You know him as like D as far as a caller and whatnot. So these are people that obviously have been on plenty of, we're only in episode number 17, and a few of these people you've heard or seen them in multiple episodes already. Now, let's talk about the people that it's their first time on Martin. First, we have Valentino D. Harrison as one of the boys in the middle school. Now, he actually has several small parts in some movies or what have you, most notably in Falling Down and Boys in the Hood. But probably outside of this Martin episode, he was the one that was getting that Trey in Boys in the Hood, and he was actually talking ish to Trey when he was a little boy and whatnot. So that's who we have, and he's one of the kids in this episode. Number 2, we actually have as the second boy in the episode is Brandon Quentin Adams. And his career spans the late 80s as a child actor, and he's still going strong today. His last project was in 2025. However, he's most recognizable in The Mighty Ducks or Sandlot for mainstream folks. But I feel like most people in who watch this channel are going to remember him from playing Fool from People Under the Stairs. So if you remember him, the lead actor, little boy, and I thought he was really good in that, he's actually in this Martin episode as well. And last, but certainly not least, Beverly Johnson as Miss Trinidad. Now, her career spans 5 decades. She made her fame as a model, becoming the first Black woman to grace the cover of British Vogue in 1966. Beverly entered into acting in the 70s, and having various roles in movies and TV, she never had a breakout role. But she is always memorable because of her beauty in anything that she's ever played. And when I looked at her IMDb, I honestly feel like this episode of Playing Miss Trinidad, although it was only a one episode, one off type of thing, I think she's most known for this in as far as acting. That obviously in the modeling world, she's way bigger and more known or whatever. But as far as acting and mainstream, I think she's more known for this particular character. Miss Trinidad also, if you remember, there was a monologue that Martin delivered ahead of episode number 5, where he talked about a crush on his 3rd grade teacher, Miss Trinidad. So it's kind of weird that they didn't go and actually put that in front of this particular episode as a monologue or what have you, and they just went right into the episode. But I'm actually not mad at that because the first scene was actually kind of funny or whatever. But if they decided to do the monologue here, it would have made sense to put it in front of this episode, but they chose otherwise. But that rounds out the cast on there. So now we go and actually know the synopsis. We know that this was a popular episode because 18.2 million viewers doing this. And again, this is going to have an iconic scene in it. Not necessarily the whole entire episode, but the scene in this, if you're a Martin fan, you know what it's about. So without further ado, let's get into breaking down Blackboard Jungle Fever. All right. So opening scene is actually inside of a school. So no monologue at this point. But who do we have in this opening scene but old Otis and another security job? Now, we're starting to get in the feel that Otis works security damn near everywhere in Detroit at this point. So at this point, he's actually in the middle school working security, hall, monitor, whatever you want to go and actually call him. And who's actually there that he done ran down is old Waterhead from the episode I Saw Jenna Kissing Santa Claus. Or he's actually known as Arthur as his actual name. And of course, Arthur is giving Otis a little bit of pushback, and Otis ain't having it. And it's actually him. The fact that Otis goes and interacts with a few different kids and have his own little jabs at them and making fun of them, whatever, is absolutely hilarious. Martin doing things. He absolutely loves the kids. And he do it like that. Matter of fact, that phrase he actually says in this scene is like, old Otis loves the kids. And later on in other episodes, we actually hear Martin loves the kids. And I really think that he just loves messing around with kids or whatever. So
come on, kids, let's keep on walking. Let's get to class. Come on now, let's get to class, boy. Come on, you little butterball, let's go. This ain't no peep show. If it was, your mother be here.
So Otis interacting with Waterhead or Arthur here actually blends a whole bunch of comedy. I'm gonna give you a couple different feels and whatnot for that, and you can kind of see some of the interactions and whatnot. Probably the thing that I would point out in this particular scene here is the fact that Otis actually sticks Arthur into a locker and then goes in and actually hits and bangs on a locker.
I'll hop out. Put it up now. Hey, how you doing, little kid? I love the kids. Always love the kids.
Like, Otis, that ain't quite the way to go ahead and actually get that kid to go ahead and actually act right. But Otis gonna do what Otis is gonna do, right? But this is an awesome scene that obviously interjects the school environment that we're going to come back later in the episode and get a feel in. And I think this is actually a great opening scene and get you cracking and get you jumping. So that's the first scene. Now, let's take a look and see what we got coming up next. So our next scene is now at Martin's apartment. It actually starts off with Gina, Martin there with Cole actually trying to go and actually hook up an illegal cable box. Dirty box, black box, whatever you want to go and actually call it back in the day. But there was actually a time, I know for you younger folks, it's kind of hard to believe, but we didn't have access to everything. And so to get a little bit more access than regular basic channels or anything like that, sometimes we had to get around and do what we got to do. And Cole's trying to do that for them. So he actually goes and actually hooks up a box, and it's actually getting, it only accesses the same stuff over and over again. It's the same thing. If I'm not mistaken, he's actually accessing Good Times, all different times on there. And not that Good Times ain't a good show, but if that's all that you're gonna pull in for that particular box, ain't no need to have it, I tell you. So as they go and actually having all this conversation, whatever, Tommy actually goes and actually comes on in to the apartment. And Gina makes a very good comment here, and one that I actually made way back when, in that the fellas seem to have, there's too many people that got keys to that place, like Martin's place. Like, his girl is over there a lot, and he's going actually doing his thing and what have you. Why do everybody got keys to Martin's apartment? That's just, nah. You can't be having keys to my girl, especially when they're all like in their mid to late 20s or what have you. And it's just absolutely a thing or what have you. But anyways, as Tommy comes on in and he's just greeting everybody, and they're up there talking about, what's going on. And Tommy actually says that, for his job, he's actually organizing a career day down at the middle school. I want you to hold on to that fact, folks. For his job, he actually is organizing a career day middle school. Keep that in the back of your mind and file that away. But anyways, as he's organizing this and talking about, what's good and why career day is good, especially for a black school, a school with mostly blacks and things of that nature. And he's kind of explaining himself or whatever and trying to get Martin to sign on to this. And Gina's kind of going along with it as well. And while they're talking about it, we actually see, so I want you to go and actually take a look at this computer that Gina is typing on, this laptop over here. Ancient laptop, back in the day type of stuff on there. So if you don't appreciate your phone that you have and your laptop that y'all have, just realize that we was carrying around these bulky things right here with hardly any memory in it. But I also think that actually speaks also to how high profile that Gina's job was. But I digress. So anyways, as Martin is kind of warming up to the fact of maybe going and actually doing a career day, Cole says that he wants to go and actually do it too, because he wants to inspire kids to go and actually do things. And they're like, you clean airplanes, my guy. Why would we go ahead and actually put that out there? And he's like, yeah, I should go ahead and actually inspire to go and actually do that. It makes perfect sense to me, so that they don't run into the same issues that he had. And one of the things that I would go ahead and actually point out in this situation is that obviously, Tommy goes and actually brings up that Miss Trinidad is the teacher at the class they're doing that. The guys are kind of talking about Miss Trinidad, and Martin says that was my first girlfriend, and we all had that teacher. I assume young ladies have it, but definitely us fellas, we got that one that you have a crush on that you was just like, oh my God. Yes, I had one as well too. If I'm not mistaken, she'd have been my third grade teacher as well. Yeah, hey, can't help it. It is what it is. But Miss Trinidad, so you could already see that the momentum is there for them to go and actually build up and think about Miss Trinidad and how they felt about her back in the day or whatever. And so that kind of gives that extra spur of like, yeah, let's go ahead and actually knock out this career day. And I think we go ahead and actually get on to it. And now we're going to go ahead and actually do a little bit of global news before we get to that next scene. And now the global news. Tensions continued to boil in Kigali during delicate power sharing negotiations regarding the implementation of the Arusha Accords. While, while diplomats attempt to broker peace between the government and the Rwandan Patriotic Front, outbreaks of internal civil insecurity leak into the streets. That's what we have for global news. And now, back to your Martin breakdown. And now we're in the middle school. Middle school, we're talking about eighth graders, right? So eighth grade, you think you know everything and all that kind of good stuff. You know a little bit about the world, but you don't know enough. But you know just enough to smart off a little bit. And we experience that here. So here we have both Cole and Martin in front of the class, and Miss Trinidad goes and actually introduces them. And she's really, you can tell that she's really proud of Martin. She listens to his show and all that kind of good stuff. And hey, not gonna lie, Miss Trinidad is looking good. So you can only imagine she's looking that good now as the fellas are older and whatnot. When she was younger. So we can go and actually see why that's happening. And as Miss Trinidad introducing Martin and kind of fawning over him, and also introducing Cole Brown and things of that nature and talking about, we also do see that Tommy is there on the side and he's observing, very much like he was observing in the Boys and Girls Club, and I Saw Gina Kissing Santa Claus. This is the development or understanding of Tommy's job. And so I need for you folks to go and actually know that this is a key indicator of what Tommy actually did for a living.
Yeah. But Tommy did really have a job.
He did. Tommy did have a job.
Yeah.
What was Tommy's job?
Okay, so it's in that episode.
Okay.
That's the first time you hear about Tommy's job. The second time you see Tommy's job is in the episode, Christmas episode, when he brings us to speak to children.
Mm-hmm.
And Martin calls the little boy
Right.
Waterman.
Right.
So Tommy talks about him being in the Boys and Girls Club, and he was a counselor at the Boys and Girls Club.
Oh.
That's what Tommy did for a living. But what happened was the writers used to always sit by our seats in during lunch, and they would just listen to our conversations. So Tommy was complaining, because you know Tommy's a Shakespearean author. You call Tommy Othello. And Tommy was complaining because, you know, I don't think they're developing my character enough, and you know, no one knows what I'm doing for a job. They keep asking me, what do I do? Why are you always at Martin's house? Why is the door always open?
Right.
Why are you guys always there? Do you even have a job? And so then they started putting it in the script, Tommy has no job, because he was complaining too much.
Right.
That's what happened.
As Martin and Cole are up there and introducing themselves, what have you, Cole goes first, and he has no cards to introduce himself. And Cole's not an eloquent speaker; he's not used to speaking in front of people, and you know, he's trying to give the kids a good presentation like he would in school. But unfortunately, these kids grill him, talking about what car does he drive, what does he get paid, all this kind of stuff, and they diminish him. He's a janitor on an airplane and all that kind of stuff. So kids don't think that he deserves a whole lot of props for his position and can't really talk about it. And they also talk about, basically, they start punking him. They want to punk him and Martin and stuff like that. It's a whole thing on there. So basically it gets heckled down where Cole, you know, is mad and upset or what have you. Now we have Martin coming on and doing his thing on there when Mr. Trinidad hypes him up. Like, hey, he's a voice of Detroit, and here you go, right? So now we have, with her backing, things of that nature, that Martin has a little bit more guts. And of course, Martin can go ahead and actually fend for himself, you know, talking and all that kind of stuff. But the kids go ahead and actually off top say like, oh, what do you make? What you drive? All this kind of stuff. And Martin, because he has to go ahead and actually perpetrate like that, he lies about, you know, what he's driving and what he's making and all that kind of stuff. So he's impressing the kids off rip. He's obviously learned from Cole on there is that you can't go ahead and actually tell the truth. These kids don't want to hear that. But when you go and actually go that route, now the kid's like, well, why don't you hook me up? Why don't you go ahead and actually let me go ahead and actually do that and whatnot? Martin's telling you got to get education, all that kind of stuff. And basically the kids heckle him as well. But of course, Martin would like to go and actually fight a kid if he could.
I got juice.
Yeah, I got juice right here.
What? Y'all better go on about y'all business.
Before somebody get hurt.
Everybody.
So the back and forth on there was just crazy. So essentially the class does get dismissed, bell rings, all that kind of stuff. The two kids that are here that go and actually try and heckle Martin and Cole and whatnot, they're out of here. As everybody leaves, all the kids leave. Soon Tommy and Cole leaves, and then that just leaves Martin, Miss Trinidad. He's talking about, hey, it was good seeing you and all that kind of stuff. And she says, like, hey, let's go ahead and actually go for a meal. And he's like, cool, totally have to go do that. And can't really go and actually blame him. It's just a meal. Daytime, whatever. Can't really go wrong with that, right? Shouldn't be anything. Could be totally platonic. But notice that there's a little bit of flirtation going on, a little bit of sayings on there that both Miss Trinidad and Martin go ahead and actually give off. And that's how we go and actually know that the door got cracked, whether Martin wanted to or not.
Right.
So he's got
Miss Trinidad, have I really changed since the 3rd grade?
No, you're still the same.
Ah.
But you know what? Your ears got smaller.
Oh, yeah, well, other things got bigger.
So you got to own a little bit of that. So that's the end of the scene. Before I go ahead and actually move on to the next scene, what I do want to go and actually point out is a couple different things when we talk about clothing of the era. You'll notice that old boy right here that's got this Detroit Pistons jersey on there. So Detroit Pistons jersey, but it's a baseball jersey. And it's a starter. Now, for those of you that don't really know, before we've had this bust of like all kinds of different sports paraphernalia, it wasn't cross sports going on, a whole lot of apparel being made. Starter really started that stuff in the early 90s of producing this type of stuff on a high quality level or high grade level. And this is actually a really, like, this jersey is really dope for back in the day on there. So that was really smooth. Also, Cole's outfit here, especially the shirt, looks like a Karl Kani type of fit. And if you know anything about, again, 90s fashion, Karl Kani was up. Cross colors is like probably a downgrade from that. And then there's some other different styles and whatnot on there. But I said it because I know I own a very similar type of shirt like that. I don't think it was Karl Kani though. I think I probably had cross colors. But I just wanted to go there and point out some 90s fashion, whatever. So now let's go ahead and actually go to the next scene and see where that meal date takes Miss Trinidad and Martin. So later on, we are at Martin's apartment, and he's invited Miss Trinidad in. It is platonic. They actually mentioned later on in the scene or what have you that they went to like McDonald's or something like that. They went to like fast food place. It wasn't even like fine dining or anything like that. So you can't really go ahead and actually extrapolate anything too much off of that. But still, she's a grown woman. Bringing her back to your place, whether you don't have any meals or not, just not a good idea, especially when no one else is there. But we also go and actually looked at Martin was playfully flirting with Miss Trinidad, and she was absolutely picking up on it all the way on through. So as they're kind of moving around the apartment and talking and what have you, a little bit of things here and there. And even Martin goes and actually admits that he had a crush on her back then and all this kind of stuff. And there was actually a smooth line that Miss Trinidad said that she had one more math lesson to teach Martin. And it's this right here.
Miss Trinidad, you taught me how to add and subtract.
And now I'm going to teach you how to divide and multiply.
It's a smooth line, right? But one of the things I want to go and actually note that was kind of like a faux pas here as far as what was going on. You notice that it's daytime in there, and that follows with the whole little lunch thing or what have you. But Miss Trinidad actually goes and actually turns off the light, and it was actually like it was dark, like nighttime or what have you. So that was kind of crazy to me that they would even go and actually do that, and that it was inconsistency as far as the way that the scene played out or what have you. But anyways, they go back and forth, and Miss Trinidad is basically trying to get at Martin, and he is fighting his demons. Like, he wants to, but he can't, but he wants to, but he can't. But he's telling her, like, look, I got a girl. I can't, no, this ain't happening or what have you and stuff. And as Miss Trinidad goes ahead and actually grabs him, she's got him pinned against the kitchen sink or whatever, and it's all over him. And who's going to go ahead and actually pop in? Of course, Gina. Man, she got keys to your place, sir. Shaggy done told you. So, how's this going to play out? I'll let you know right after we get done with the domestic news. Now your domestic news. On January 20th, William Jefferson Clinton, or Bill Clinton, is sworn in as the 42nd President of the United States, officially ending 12 years of Republican control of the White House. In his inaugural address, Clinton speaks to a post-Cold War world, famously declaring, "From our revolution to the Civil War, to the Great Depression, to the Civil Rights Movement, Our people have always mustered a determination to construct from these crises the pillars of our history. By the words we speak and the faces we show the world, we force the spring. And last but not least, as Congress opens its new session alongside the transition, lawmakers fast tracked the Family and Medical Leave Act. Having been twice vetoed by President Bush during his term, the bill designed to grant job protected unpaid leave for family or medical emergencies is lined up to be one of the very first major legislative victories Clinton signs into law just weeks later. To give context for this particular situation, understand most of the first and second world have policies like this. It's the first time that America was implementing this, and this would have been 1993. So we could still talk about how things have impacted things, but there are some things that hadn't just put in place until very recently. But there we have all your domestic news, and now back to your Martin breakdown. All right, now we are back, and Gina is in the house. And actually, Miss Trinidad messes up right at the very beginning by, what does she do? Says Gina's name off rip, but we don't catch that right away. So anyways, Gina is heated about seeing her man in there with a grown woman, a gorgeous looking woman, all this kind of stuff, and she's not buying it. Miss Trinidad, you think that she's gonna go and actually help out the situation? Like, oh no, it's not what it looks like or anything like that. No, she definitely covers for herself. It's like, I didn't know that he had a girl, I didn't know this, and that, and she bugs out. She's done like that, left him hanging. So now Martin is going actually trying to defend himself against Gina, and he gives the dumb reasoning. Just like, oh my God, he gives the dumbest reasoning here.
What do you think? You're smarter than that. Think, okay? Think, Gina. All right? Would I be dumb enough to bring a woman up here knowing you got the key?
Even though you knew I was working late, Martin?
Wrong. You are so wrong.
I'm wrong? I'm wrong. How am I wrong, Martin?
Gina, because if I was going to cheat on you, I'd have took a woman over the Tommies.
Yeah, that wasn't going to help, my guy. That's you trying to be defensive about something that you know that, like, he's innocent, but you also know, like, in your heart, you kind of wanted to, whatever. So, yeah, he just wasn't thinking disconnecting. Gina, I can't blame her. She dropped her keys, left, said, no, it's over. And I understand it from both sides in this point. There's, Martin enabled a little bit of something on there, but he also truly did tell her that he had a girl and all this kind of stuff. And he was fighting. He wasn't trying to give in. So just a lot there to go and actually deal with. But, Martin at the end of it, when he goes and actually, Miss Trinidad is long gone on there and Gina leaves. This is how he ends this is how he ends the scene.
Oh, damn. If I knew all this was going to happen, I should have got some.
And I'm going to tell you, a lot of guys probably would have felt just like that. Not that you would have been right, but probably would have went and actually felt just like that. Can't help it. So let's take a look at the next scene. So now we have it the next day of Tommy and Cole are over with Martin talking about the situation, right? He's explaining what happened. They're talking about the whole crush thing, everything. And one of the things, it was taken for a joke type of thing, but be real, probably shouldn't have been. And it's this thing that actually Cole says and talking about, a teacher making a pass at him.
Look, man, you brothers ever have a teacher come on to you?
My Sunday school teacher. Man, she taught me the true meaning of the word missionary.
I only had one teacher make a pass at me.
You know what? I remember that. They fired him, right?
Yeah, some definitely awkward laughs on that. I don't think that you would go and actually get away with something like that today. Or if you are, it's going to be more of a drama to it and not played for comedy, whatever. But they're kind of talking back and forth on, like, hey, it's messed up that she went and actually did that. You should go and actually talk to Miss Trinidad. And that's what he goes and actually do. He decides, like, look, I got to go over there and talk to her and be like, why did she go and actually, play me like that and things like that. And Martin goes ahead and actually gets on out of there, leaves Tommy and Cole. So we now have a situation where he is ready to go and actually do that. And that'll be the last scene of this particular episode, which, for those of you that are fans of Martin, is one of the most iconic scenes that we have. But before we get to it, got to go ahead and actually do my cultural news, and then we break down that final scene. And now, the world of music during this time. The top 5 Billboard songs at the time of this particular episode. Number 5, Ordinary World by Duran Duran. Number 4, Faithful by Go West. Number 3, In the Still of the Night, Boyz II Men. Number 2, Deeper and Deeper by Madonna. And holding steady at number 1 for a 10th week in a row, I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. And now, your movies. And now, your top 5 movies during the premiere of this particular episode. Number 5, Body of Evidence starring Madonna. Number 4, Nowhere to Run starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. Number 3, Alive starring Ethan Hawke. Number 2, A Few Good Men starring Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. In number 1, Aladdin starring the voice of Robin Williams. And there you have the movies and all the cultural aspects that were happening. And now, back to your Martin breakdown. Of course, we are now in the afternoon after school. Miss Trinidad has gotten through with her last class, and Martin is coming there talking to her, talking about, why were you lying? Why'd you lie? This, and that. And she's like, hey, I'm stressed on it. I just went and actually did that to go ahead and actually get out of there. But, you probably ain't got no woman, because that's what she probably banking on, right? As a woman being a woman, ain't going to go and actually stand for that. And it's going to be a breakup. And she could take advantage. She could slide right on in. Miss Trinidad knew what she was going actually doing. And it's crazy because for her being that beautiful, her still going actually lusting after former student, like, you just kind of, either she's really thirsty, or there may have been some other things that probably needed to have been talked to the school board about Miss Trinidad. If we go ahead and actually be real about this episode, it's got some different layers to it, right? But Martin going and actually just putting her in her place of, hey, I should go and actually report you to the principal and stuff, and doing this, and that. And she tries to go for him again. And, it's a thing of Martin going and actually saying, like, look, if anything ever happened to Gina, I might hook up with you, but other than that, like, no, it's not going to happen. And Miss Trinidad is not having it. She's really trying to get at Martin on there. And she asked the critical question right at that point. Don't you want me, Martin? And all we hear off screen is,
No, bitch, I want you.
That's right. Gina is here. She done came straight after work. Probably left work early and do like that. And what did we learn that my girl got? My girl got her gym bag. You see a black woman, especially a professional black woman that don't really get down like that. You see her bringing her gym bag, with her to go ahead and actually see another woman or what have you. You about to see some straight up hands get thrown. This is what's going to happen. And Gina lets her know that, what? She put 2 and 2 together once she got home. And she's like, hey, you called me Gina before Martin even said anything. So you knew that he had somebody. So off rip, you a liar. And she lied about that. And now she probably overheard a lot of this exchange that was going back and forth in that class. She knows she a liar. Gina pulling out the she got the gym shoes because she gonna kick off the heels. She taking off the earrings on that. She got the Vaseline because black women don't want to go and actually get her face all messed up. Put the Vaseline on and make sure that you ain't grabbing at her face or screwing up her face, and make sure that the hair don't go and actually get pulled. And boom, she was ready to go and actually throw down. And she was ready to go and actually do that. And Miss Trinidad goes and actually backs down. 1, she don't want to lose that job. And 2, I'm sure she was probably a pretty girl that ain't had no fights like that. She don't want none of that with Gina. And so you look at it, Miss Trinidad goes ahead and actually backs on down and leaves the classroom. And of course, Martin says, what are you, girl, coming down here with a gym bag and with all that, you put your crazy self on there. And she was like, I apologize to you. I jumped the gun yesterday and all that kind of stuff. I should have believed you and all that kind of stuff. And, he was sitting up there trying to go and actually go for it. Like, yeah, you should have believed me, whatever. But it would have also been better if he would have also admitted to the stuff that he did to kind of enable and get that situation going, because it was not all just one-sided or whatever. But basically, Gina's the one that kind of apologizes. She says, and she actually says this right here, which, man, don't say this one, Gina.
You know what? After all I said, I wouldn't have blamed you if you had gone back and slept with that woman.
Now you tell me?
Don't ever let that man know that he might have had a hall pass. You don't want to go ahead and actually do that. So that's where that particular scene's in. I will say that that particular scene is probably the first time in this series, like we're in episode number 16 or 17 in the season, where we have now seen that, oh, Gina does have a little bit of crazy side to her. For the most part, she's always been very reasonable and straight laced in being very pragmatic and reasonable. So it's not like that's a departure from a character. But what it does is shows her that little bit broad span. It's like she got a little bit of hood in her, she got a little bit of fight in her and whatnot, and she could go ahead and actually go crazy for her man too. And I think this was actually a very good dynamic to show that, because this is a thing where you could kind of see again a little bit more of the attraction to Martin, because she knows her underlying who she is and whatnot. But that's the last scene. We do actually get a blooper reel of Otis in the hallway with Waterhead and doing all that kind of stuff. So I like that as the outgoing scene. So that's what we got. So what did I think of this particular episode? This was first of all, the most iconic scene. This is probably one of your top, if you think about all the scenes in Martin or whatever, this is in your probably like top 20 scenes that you could go ahead and actually absolutely recall. Not necessarily the whole episode, even though the episode was funny overall, but that last scene is absolutely one that people they talked about the next day, and it's one of those ones that it just sticks out in your memory. Whatever, Gina coming in there ready to scrap and whatnot, that was absolutely hilarious. Martin going and actually showing the old crush with Miss Trinidad and whatnot. I still think that they would have done better to have used that monologue of from episode number 5 to put that in front of this particular episode. It would have made more sense. But the fact that they did it earlier is whatever. But the writing was good on here. This obviously we saw a little bit of Gina go a little bit crazy and whatnot. We saw that Martin can go ahead and actually get a little bit of flirting and stuff like that. I think what we really saw in this particular episode is a strengthening of the relationship. We saw that Gina's character that she can be just as jealous, just like Martin was at the end of where Keith Washington and things of that nature. So there's this thing that they definitely have a relationship for each other and have the jealousy, and that's where you have passion involved in. So I think that was good writing for them to include this particular episode early on in the season. Some good jokes in there. Obviously, a couple things that would not have gone over too well would have been, like the hint at, a teacher going actually possibly molesting Cole. Probably not a great thing on there. Probably the other thing that people can go and actually get from this particular episode is that this, along with I Saw Gina Kissing Santa Claus, are probably the biggest hints that you can get of what Tommy's real job was in Martin. But this particular episode, this was better than mid-tier, better than average, between the writing, some of the jokes, the kids going in and actually heckling Martin and Cole and what have you. Otis going ahead and actually doing what he was doing in the beginning. There's just some very good ones. So I would say this is probably going to be, at least in the season 1, it's probably going to be in the upper mid-tier, an upper tier. Might be in like the top 10 or what have you. I have to review everything on there, but this is actually a good episode that if you want to get somebody into Martin, I could suggest this one. That's it. That's all I have for Blackboard Jungle Fever. And now, you know what it is. I can't help you. I can't stop it. You know what has to be done here. Till next time, I'll holler at you.
I've been waiting to say this all year, and I'm going to say it. And this is a good time. Get the stepping. Don't you feel tough?
Yeah.
Don't you feel strong?
Yeah.
Don't you feel like going home?
Sure.
Then get the hell out of my apartment and take
Back up a taste? Just a taste. Just give me some room. Hey. Okay, the door's gonna slam about now.